Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Summit 5 Southeast Asian Qualifiers. Fnatic facing off against MVP, and my goodness, I feel like we've seen this before. It's going to be game number 2. Apparently both teams felt comfortable with their opening drafts because we're seeing literally the exact same thing that we saw last game. I'm Lyrical, joined today by Scant. Sir, how you feeling, and what do you think about this?
I kind of like to see teams backing themselves. I mean, it's easy to see why the team that won would back themselves, but I also like to see MVP.Phoenix almost with the same opener acknowledging that, you know, it wasn't necessarily the draft that was the problem. That said, they could diversify the rest of their picks, in which case maybe they do think the draft was the problem, but I don't personally think the draft was the problem. I don't think that's what lost them the game. I think it would, if anything, Fnatic's playing at a higher pace than MVP, which is the thing that MVP's been, everyone's been excited about with MVP is how fast they play, but Fnatic's reaction times and like movements were really good in that game. Even just that decisive rush fight early on, which was Fnatic going there super quickly after losing a fight, knowing that they won't have this ulti cooldowns, but MVP do ban the Ember Spirit this time, and this is the hero mid-one's been playing all the time recently, and won't be able to play it this time. I think it's interestingly enough, it might limit Mushy Shadowfiend a bit too, because I think Ember's the only safe lane hero mid-one's been playing as well, so it might be that if he's not Ember, he's going to be mid, and that puts Mushy back to the safe lane.
I mean, there's no way that we end up seeing a safe lane Shadowfiend, I would imagine, but we are going to end up seeing instead the Spectre coming out for MVP.Phoenix. This to me felt like one of their defining picks. It was one of the ways in which they kind of dominated in the Shanghai Major, was with just super hyper aggression, but particularly with a global presence. And now you've got Ancient Apparition Ice Blast, you've got Haunt. Potentially we might end up seeing them go back for, well, we're probably not going to see the Nature's Prophet, considering we already have the Faceless Void, but regardless, it does feel like this is maybe getting back a little bit more to their bread and butter.
Yeah, Spectre is a hero that Cure is very good at. The team runs very comfortably. I guess one concern would be that it does set up the similar dynamic to last game already, which is that they're more dependent on long cooldowns than Fnatic are, and in keeping with that, Fnatic go for the Lifestealer, which again, it's a hero that fights completely independently of big ulti cooldowns. So that's a little bit of a concerning dynamic, because it was an important dynamic in terms of deciding the first game, that Fnatic didn't depend on those long cooldowns. And Phoenix do go back for the Tusk, so very similar draft to last game.
Yeah, just switch out the Ember for the Lifestealer. We got this different thing going out. It looks like, I mean, here's the other thing that I wonder about. Occasionally we've been seeing Fnatic go for like, I think we saw one game with them in a previous cup where they ran Lifestealer mid even, and felt comfortable doing that, and like they switch around their lanes so much that I don't even know if you necessarily ever feel comfortable with like predicting where they go with these heroes. And I guess with the Tusk being probably one of those early roaming heroes into the mid lane, do you need to try and think about building a survivable hero in the mid role for Fnatic?
It's a consideration. Wouldn't be too surprised to see. Yeah, I was about to say Puck, but Puck is also banned. So it's that would have been a nice pick here for mid one. So would have been the Ember Spirits. Those two are the ones that are banned. So surprise, surprise, MVP.Phoenix know what they're doing. Professional Dota 2 team understand which heroes they should ban. I don't know. It's. I think you do have a point, especially when Vengeful Spirit is the only support you picked so far. Although remember last game, Fnatic, their last pick that they had was the one that's going to roam around and help the early laning presence, was the Bounty Hunter. So they could get that later on, and if you've got that kind of hero to help your mid lane, we saw them run a Shadowfiend last game. You know, Shadowfiend there isn't anything more fragile and susceptible to task early rotations. So if they can get away with that, they could probably do whatever mid they want here, provided that they do have that second support which can move around early on.
Yeah, and that's something as well. Is just if you really do try and play a little bit more defensively. I don't know if we're going to see the Shadowfiend again. Picking that would seem really risky, but instead it's going to be the Riki. So, you know, the recently added to Captain's Mode, I feel like we almost always see him in the roaming support type of role. Is that where we're going to end up seeing him here in this game as well?
Yeah, definitely. They've just. I mean, I'm busy now trying to think why they prefer the Riki over the Bounty Hunter in this game, and my guess would be that it's because of the one big advantage Riki has is the smoke screen. I mean, he scales better in damage, but he doesn't have track. But the smoke screen is really big, and I think it's a very important tool to kill a hero like Faceless Void. And I didn't mention in the last game that they were lacking tools to stop the Void from just time walking away. But if you get the smoke screen down, it's actually quite easy to kill that hero. So they could threaten them even in the lane stage between the Venge, the Lifestealer, and the Riki, which a Bounty Hunter wouldn't have been able to do. So that Riki, by the way, is, and I don't know if you, I'm not like when I play ranked games in EU at the moment. There's a roaming Riki in almost every game. It's like a very popular hero right now, almost as popular as the Bounty Hunter.
I literally haven't been able to play Dota in like a week or something. There's so many games that everybody is needing to cast. But yeah, I've seen it around a lot in a lot of the high-level pubs that occasionally show up. It seems like everywhere it's something that if you snowball with it well, it can work incredibly strong.
Yep. So it's a solid pick, and yeah, I don't think Fnatic go for something like SF. Again, I'm pretty sure that the mid heroes for mid one this time. I'm pretty sure that Mushi's the one that's going to be playing the Lifestealer in the safe lane. Not to say that mid one can't play Shadow Fiend. It's just like Mushi is their Shadow Fiend player. It's this particular era that they have swapped around for, so it'll be something slightly different. MVP.Phoenix, for their part, they're also going to pick a different mid lane. I'm pretty sure their draft's quite similar to last game, but I don't think they'll pick the DP again. I think that it does fall into a similar dynamic where now they have these really long ulti cooldowns, and I also think with the Spectre and the Void, you actually don't need to have the DP. Your draft isn't orientated that much on get the early advantage and go in.
Really?
They do go back for the Shadow Fiend, so I don't. Do you think it's gonna be a mid one SF, or is mid one gonna be playing the Lifestealer?
I think mid one. God, this is a little bit nuts to me. It does feel like it's going to be a mid one Lifestealer, which seems very odd. And normally one of the ways, and you see there with the MVP.Phoenix ban out of the Storm Sphere, that they are going to want to try and think about heroes that are going to be able to have the Infest Bomb going. That's something that you can run with Riki as well. So I'm kind of wondering if this is going to be much more built around trying to get just Mushi incredibly fat on the Shadow Fiend. He's going to be the true carry, and then we see sort of those Lifestealer shenanigans with Infest Bombs going into trying to kill the Spectre in the sort of later stage, early stages of this game.
Yeah, I mean, Lifestealer is not by no means a especially difficult or technical mechanical hero to play, so it's not like because mid one hasn't played it the hero that much in the past that he couldn't play it. I'm sure he could play it perfectly fine. He also can play Shadow Fiend. I know that he can play Shadow Fiend, but it would be shocking to me if they pick a Shadow Fiend and it's not Mushi. So I would also go with it's probably gonna be mid one on the Lifestealer. And more interested to see what MVP ran now. Fnatic thought it was gonna be a Venomancer. That's the one that they banned. Veno has been a successful hero recently, from Wings in China to No Diggity in Europe and all around the world. I'm not sure if Venomancer for me is a QO hero, though. Although, QO is playing Spectre, right? So this will be an MP hero, probably. The chances are QO's in the spec, and MP would be on the Lina mid. And that certainly shakes things up. Lina is not as dependent on long ulti cooldown as Death Prophet. She's much more active early on, and you can be involved in those smaller skirmishes more regularly.
And again, not a great answer for being able to keep the Shadow Fiend alive. So I do feel like if MVP.Phoenix get off to a hot start in this game, it's going to be pretty snowbally for them. There's ways back into it for Fnatic, but a lot of it involved being able to hit a really good Requiem of Souls or just a lot of damage coming out from Shadow Fiend. But with the Lina pick, obviously Laguna Blade is a pretty great answer to SF, who is kind of just that predominant glass cannon. That's mainly what the hero sort of revolves around. You can build them up into being this just tanky monstrosity, but it doesn't always end up working out that way.
Yeah, but we also saw last game that Mushi likes to tank by buying the BKB on Shadow Fiend, and he's probably not, he's not going to want to buy a mech because there's an ancient apparition, although maybe the Darks will get one anyway. Sometimes you do. I mean, last game they bounty out a mech against AA. It's not like it's something you can't do, but tanking with the BKB is the point I want to make, and Lifestealer tanking with the Rage, and Lina, a hero naturally, if she gets into Aghanim Scepter, can actually counteract the heroes that try to tank just by having spell immunity.
Yeah. That's a nice answer. They're going to Ion Shell up the Riki. Guess what? Nobody saw that one coming, but he is not going to end up being able to do it. They actually popped the dust. What? How did they know? What? All right. 343 is going to get taken down at the early stages. What?
Were they not smoking? I thought they were smoking.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. I looked like an idiot right there. That makes a lot more sense. Thank goodness that I've got this is the analyst that everybody needs to know. And Ohio is now going to get chased down as well.
He has Iron Shell, so if they're not going to catch him. unfortunately for them.
Just lost my mind for no reason. It's late, everybody. I'm sorry. It's 4:30 in the morning. Scant, carry me through this cast, please. My God.
No problem. I'll do my best. But it's actually they still got him on the very edge of the dust, which we saw happen last game as well. So it was very close to not catching. Interesting again. It is 3-4-3 playing it. It is DJ again playing the Vengeful Spirit. So I guess this is just like a more regular thing for Fnatic now, where it really was historically DJ always playing these roaming heroes, but they've switched it around.
Guys, how'd they know that Ricky was there? Sorry. Yeah, mid lane, it looks like it's going to end up being the Tusk trying to get the body block off, and an interesting little dynamic here is going to be how they end up being able to zone out Mushi from this lane, if they're capable of finding kills on him. What do you think about the matchup of Lina versus SF? It sort of harkens back to 6.83, 6.84 times. It's one that we haven't seen all that often recently.
Yeah, it's typically a little bit favorable for the Lina, but it's not... I think SF played well can define in this lane, and certainly Moshi is a SF that we expect to play well. MP tanking a lot of creep damage there just to get that one extra hit off on Moshi. This is a lane usually that Lina wants to dominate early on, and so there's, even though she can get an early advantage, it's like there's quite an immense pressure on her to do that. You know, she's not... You wouldn't consider it fine for her to just farm while he farms, and that is what's happening around. They're both just farming.
343 is still keeping his eyes over here and applying a little bit of pressure, hopefully allowing that Shadow Fiend to get off to a decent start. It is still going to be an issue where he's rather squishy in these stages. He actually still goes for the boots first. What do you think about that build in this matchup? It feels less normal to me than it did in the DP matchup.
It's not, well, this is what I was trying to say last game. It's not that much about the mid hero as much as it is about saying to the Tusk, try me, kind of thing. It's difficult for Tusk to roam in and make that early kill because the SF has the first boots, and MP taking a lot of harass here from 343, and Mushi had hit a raise there. They could have made a kill. Mushi wasn't on the same page as 343. And now 343 nearly dies. He does die.
It drops down the Sentry Ward as well. Nicely done there. Well, they end up being able to find two just rather rapidly.
That's so this is a... I think that I think that 343 was saying we can make a kill, and Mushi was like not paying attention or focusing on farming. It sometimes happens, and Mushi comes to the party a bit late, and at that point it's too late. Because I actually think that it looked like they could set up a kill if as soon as the Ricky went and the Lina, the SF was coming forward for the raise, but he wasn't. He took a while to join in, so a little bit of a miscoordination between the players there, I think.
Well, and as that ends up happening, off to a hot start already. MVP, they find the kill on the Ricky, they find the kill on him again, as well as the Shadow Fiend mid, and that definitely wasn't something that should have happened, but now also having an Arcane Rune, man, 69 mana cost for Dragon Slave on Lina at level 2, and also as the Light Strike Array. Mushi needs to be so careful here. This is just terrifying already.
Yeah, at the same time, Mushi doesn't want to like just sit down and give the lane away. So he's trying to be as aggressive as he can reasonably be, but obviously needs to avoid dying in the process. You know, you don't want to just be, okay, I'm leaving the lane now, it's your lane, Nina, because that kind of sets a precedent. She gets even further ahead, when you come back, it's even more difficult.
Well, and there's not great heroes, again, outside of the Ricky to try and roam in and make something happen, but it's not, like, if Ricky's behind, he can't really roam in and find stuff anyway.
Fnatic
so.
trying to kill Forev, but I don't think they have enough, yeah. They kill him as soon as Ricky has the smoke screen and can go and gank, but until then, I think the Void's pretty fine.
And you can see he's not even really able to get a ton of levels up here in the offlane as they're continuing to pull over to the side. And this is just, I feel like this early laning stage, we talked about it for MVP, it's exactly what they need. Looking for the kill on Mushi, he throws out a right click and not quite going to be able to get it on the edge. But just look at how squishy they all are. All of the heroes right now for Fnatic, besides the Lifestealer pretty much, are just really easy to kill off.
It's a little bit of a stroke of luck for MVP, I want to say, because the play that put them ahead in the mid lane is very much not their own doing. That was Fnatic going for aggression and miscoordinating it and just punishing them for it. But I mean, that's part of the value of being good at Dota, is when your opponent makes mistakes, you're always ready to punish them for it. So MP still gets credit in that respect, but Fnatic will be kicking themselves a bit because they've given themselves, a bit of catching up to do.
Meanwhile, QO is building and continuing to get his levels, almost level 6, as we head over his direction. They rotated around towards the mid lane with Febi and Dubu and weren't able to find the Shadow Fiend, but might be able to make something happen here as they spot out 3-4-3. Dust is up and available, but bottom lane in the meantime, Frev is going to just be able to TP out. They're not able to find the kill. He had a magic missile as well, but they didn't get vision of him, and I think that Dubu just throws out the dust, maybe? Oh, they're going to cut the creep wave and try and take the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, they don't know where he is. But this is kind of what else. They're not going to kill the Void unless the Ricky's there. It's just kind of simple as that early on. So Fnatic, Mushi goes for the gank because he's not getting that much down in the mid lane. So might as well try and do something else. But ultimately, it's as futile as we expect it to be.
And now has his bottle, boots, magic stick, and a couple ironwood branches, but it has been a very difficult game indeed for this Shadow Fiend. 16-3, and again, you look at this Lina, 27-9 with level 6 already up and ready to go. She might just go for this kill, and oh god, that light strike right hits, you find it. She might have even just been able to kill him with the Dragon Slave Laguna Blade, honestly.
She's trying that right now and hits the Dragon Slave. Mushi's bottling up to make sure she doesn't die to the Laguna Blade, but it's just going to take a hit or two.
Oh, right click, snowball, that's a kill. Shadow Fiend goes down. They are going to rotate in now. Mid one, going to be able to find that kill. So, again, mid one covering Mushi in the mid.
Yep, quick reaction, making sure to get in. And he's actually going even deeper, trying to get the Tusk here, but decides it's time to turn around. The ward was actually Scantzor at that stage, and Lina almost killed it before she died. So MVP will know that there's some vision there at least.
Kyo now has Haunt up as we are moving into a stage of the game where Fnatic need to be careful. If you start getting the Spectre off to a hot start, that's when things really start going awry. And Febby, gonna get chased down by the Iron Shelled up Ricky, need to be a little bit careful, but the turnaround, Cold Feet, they also have the slow in. Oh, good blink strike away is gonna make sure that he's able to get out of there. But still a very scary proposition.
Yeah, it's...
He's diving in
thinks
towards
he can kill Febby. He can kill Febby, but it's okay. They're gonna try and turn things around. And
all right, well,
it's actually on the other side of the map.
Ricky. That's one kill for them, so pretty quick and easy there. They come out and Kyo finds that one as he was just hanging around that area a little bit too long. He bought Dust, so Kyo TP's back, buys Dust, haunts in, dusts, finds the kill on the Ricky. Well played.
Yep, pretty good stuff. Solid Spectre player. 10 out of 10.
So what's your read here on Forev in the off lane on this Faceless Void? He's already gotten his Chronosphere up, and actually as we say that, we're going to have a little bit of a battle. Snowball save into DJ. The Smoke Cloud is going to end up taking down, and they actually are going to be able to kill off Mushi again, but they might lose Dubu for this, as he's going to get ran down in the mid lane. Right clicks are there, Orb of Venom as well, but can they actually find this slowdown? Pretty well played, and that is going to end up being the kill. So with the Haunt down, they feel comfortable taking that fight. They lose Mushi, but they get the kill on the Lina nonetheless.
Yeah, and it is with the Haunt on. It's again Fnatic showing they're confident to play around the timings that MVP represents in this game. And even though this game is a Lina and not a DP, there still are some big timings that are important to look out for. That MVP will be a little bit weaker when they don't have.
QO still sitting comfortably in the top lane. He's been able to get off to a 3,300 net worth start, and still Lifestealer is the predominant hero right now in the early stages of this game, but as it goes on later, how do you feel like that dynamic, do you feel like the dynamic's going to shift? Do you think that mid one's going to be able to snowball through, or do they need to be worried about the Spectre?
There's some pretty good heroes to deal with. Lifestealer, the Faceless Void is one, for example. The Lina, if she gets into Ag, she can deal with them in Rage. The Spectre fights quite well into Lifestealer because it can kite the hero really well. So I think it's... Mushi's going to have to catch up, put it that way. For Fnatic, they need Mushi to catch up at some point. But top lane Q is... Yep.
Wow.
Double Iron Shell with the smoke screen. That's crazy damage and unable to even dagger away.
That's a really unfortunate situation, and I did not expect that to come out that quickly, but it goes to show the power of Ricky in just even that 1 point in the smoke screen. 40% miss rate, and you also get a 25% movement slow. As that happens, though, they're going to try and go for a play of their own, seeing if they can find a kill on the mid one. This Lifestealer. Spectre back up in a second with the Haunt. The smoke is going to break. They realize that he's over there at the camp, but now heading down into the trees. They're going to be able to get vision when the Haunt comes, but I don't know if they're going to go for it anymore. They head mid instead.
Yeah, they want to bully Mushi. He's the one who's been struggling this game. He's the one who, like I said, it's probably necessary for Fnatic to win this game. Then Mushi's going to have to catch up at some point. And so if MVP just keep him down, it's going to be really good for them. DJ doesn't know what he's walked into. There's more heroes than he expected, but the mid one's there too.
So they find it. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, though, they're chasing down Febby, and they have the smoke screen, the pullback. That's going to be Kyo dropping low as well, but can they kill off Ohio? He is going to fall. Tricks the trade. Kyo gets a double. Well done. So they lose their Tusk and their Ancient Apparition, but they're able to find that Darkseer, and more importantly, Kyo some more farm.
Yeah, MVP pretty fine with that. I mean, in terms of how the Spectre's doing really well, the Lena's doing well, the Void's doing well, it's the Shadow Fiend who's the one hero that's pretty far behind in the progression where it wants to be. And Fnatic, I think, yeah, it looks like actually overall they have like a very minor XP and gold lead, but I don't think they'll be satisfied with having that kind of overall position. They need the SF to recover. He's starting to do that. He's farming through some stacks in the jungle, and playing it safe, just making sure he gets to the first few items before he exposes himself to the potential for another kill.
I mean, he is still just so far behind, though. I mean, Bottle right now, Treads, and a Magic Wand. Bottom lane, they are going to maybe be able to kill off Forever. Oh, a pretty good Infest Bomb there as they use that to finish him off. And that's going to be the armlet again for mid one, picked up just a little while ago, and 1,000 gold on top of it. So maybe going to be able to pressure this bottom tier 1 tower, but at the same token, it's going to be MVP moving towards the mid. Just Mushi doing everything he can to try and keep himself alive in this lane, but it's just, I mean, 3,200 net worth doesn't get you a whole lot.
Yeah, it's better than he was looking a couple of minutes ago. He has spent some time recovering, and at the current rates of things, as long as he doesn't die more, I think his recovery will be fine. I think 5 minutes time he'll be in an okay position. But I think MVP is certainly going to have something to say about it. They'd like him to die more, and at the moment he's defending the mid lane sort of alone, but here come the TPs from his teammates. The Riki is coming around, and with the smokescreen initiation, they could get a jump here.
They need to get Force Staffs or something up on a couple of these heroes. I feel like that might need to be a pretty high priority for all of them. Even, do you think it's worth it to build it on Void even? I just think it's so important. And there's actually going to be why you end up smoking and dropping down again. DJ has been so on point with these swaps throughout this series, just to have it for a great initiation.
Yeah, it's very much about teamwork, though. It's about trusting each other, like what you're swapping the person into. Mushi is being followed around by an invisible level 6 Ancient Apparition, but
oh god,
yep, they were picking it out. They saw the AA walk past the sentry first time, and it was actually really well played by Mushi to not give away that he knew that the AA was there, and then just call his teammates and say, okay, well, we'll pull him back to the sentry ward, we'll kill him.
This is ridiculous. It really does feel now like Fnatic are starting to hit their stride, and it's just through solid teamwork, as you said. First of all, you get the swap that comes out into the cloud, and that moment right there, it felt like Faceless Void was just going to be able to take control of the game. If he landed a really good chrono on the tier 1 tower with the other heroes over there, it would have really been great, but again, this Riki pick has been working out really well for Fnatic already.
Yep, and again, Ohio is rushing a pipe on Darkseer, very close to having it, in fact, and pretty big deal in these early fights. While at the mid lane, there's an initiation. It's going to be Forever using the Chronosphere, the Laguna Blade as well. They'll kill DJ, but it is just a vengeful spirit. It secures the tower as well. Not too bad for MVP. At least getting something done. It's been a while. They've been a little bit frustrated, grouping up, trying to do something with their Chronosphere, and in the end, it was the Void who died. So I feel just making sure they get some value out of it and get it cooling down again.
Oh my god, they just jump on a Q. Guess what? He's got an Lifestealer in him as well, and now pulled back into the smoke. That is so dirty. You just jump in on top of them and nowhere to go. They find an easy kill. MVP, they don't have an answer to that. Like, Spectre either has to be covered or has to have... I think that's what it comes down to. You either have to farm... I mean, you can't really farm in a safer place than at your tier 2 tower, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's a unique threat. It's a hero that can jump onto you and silence you. Like, is there another... Think about it. Is there another hero in Dota that does that? That has both the jumping mechanism naturally and the silencing mechanism? And speaking of which, the smokescreen could come out of the mid lane here too, but they don't want to chase for this kill.
It's not really a ton of them, and the combination with the Lifestealer is just what makes it even more deadly. Every single time they're going to be able to probably kill off the Spectre, and maybe now you just need to start thinking about trying to get aggressive yourself and making moves. But every time they've done that, they've also found themselves going into like swap and smoke screen.
Here comes the smoke from Fnatic. They're gonna try and pressure this mid tier 1, and they know that the Void Chrono is down still. So again, playing around the timing as well. They could possibly dive for the Lina, but they're actually going back towards the top lane, and Q is a much more important target if they can kill him.
Yeah, they
Looks like they very well might. If they get the silence off, he's pretty much dead. He needs to get away, and Q are reading it correctly. This is one of those I was talking about yesterday, when it's understated when carry players can take risks, pulling everyone to gank them and then escaping the gank. That's we talk so much about when they get caught, but we don't talk enough about when they don't get caught and how that's actually good play by the carry player.
Yeah, there was a ton of space created. All 4 heroes rotate up to the top lane for MVP. They try and find the Spectre, and in the meantime, you're going to see all of MVP move down to the bottom lane, take a tier 1 tower, and start to pressure the tier 2. That little movement there by QO and showing himself in the lane and then heading up to get out of there, it's really started to build it back towards their favor, and maybe as well going to be able to find 3-4-3. He is going to run into a sentry ward right here. Febby spots him out. The ping should come in a second. They jump in on top of him, but suddenly the Haunt, a ton of damage. Oh, he was able to get the tricks of the trade-off, and now mid 1 jumping on top of them. They're going to be able to get the vacuum wall onto 3. Dugo in a lot of trouble. They throw out the Chronosphere, but QO is stuck into it. I don't know if they have enough damage right here. He's going to end up running away, still alive for the moment. They are going to be able to control Dubu. Forev is going to fall. They lose 4. QO, the only one to escape. Oh, wow. And Ricky survives.
So, yeah, that's the other thing Ricky can do that Bounty Hunter can't. He can just like disappear for a few seconds. You can't kill him. So he starts off. I mean, it's actually so nice. He initiates the fight with the Blink in and Cloud, and then when they try and turn around at him, like, oh, this weak support thinks it can initiate on us, we'll kill it. Then he just turns on his ulti, and suddenly they're standing around like with their their hands in their pockets, not sure what to do.
And it's just that combination. And this whole time, Mushi's been farming. He's been catching up. He's been doing what he needs to do. He's going to be rushing a BKB and should have it completed now. But again, let's go for another play. Ricky has Lifestealer inside of him. They just start running around, and this is what we were talking about in the draft that they might be going for, is just allowing that Shadow Fiend to be the one that farms more often than not, while these two run around and try and kill off the Spectre. And guess what? They're going to find QO again. I don't know how you stop this completely. Ion Shell's going to be available. That is going to be already the dagger used, waiting for it to wear off. Jump in, QO's dead.
Yeah, they just wait out the dagger. That's all they need to do. So it's Mushi who went behind early on, but it's Q who's going behind in the mid game, and that's a pretty big deal. Remember also, to be fair, Mushi went behind because Fnatic made a misplay, because the Shadow Fiend and the Ricky, because the first gank wasn't properly coordinated. So I don't know, when it comes to like positive proactive players, I do think Fnatic are playing at a higher level in this game, in the previous game, in the series in general. They're just like more together with what they're trying to do. They're playing at a fast pace and really just making great decisions. DJ probably gets caught out here, not the first time in this game. It is still just the Vengeful Spirit though. It's no amount of Vengeful Spirit kills is going to win the game for MVP.
Yeah, they secure the kill with the Laguna Blade, and that means that they're going to be able to escape, as Dubu is going to get brought down and killed off there. So pretty well played. They actually are running back in again. Febby shows himself, throws out the A blast, connects onto 2. Forev is here. He jumps into all of them and actually ends up getting silenced right from the start. They drop on down. The Chronosphere is going to connect on a mid one, but Mushi is not in it. Requiem Souls comes out. That kills off Forev with the Infest Bomb. And now you're dead again with 3 heroes, and you only killed off the Venge. Used the Chronosphere, used your Haunt. Oh, man. I don't know, at this point, for MVP, what do they need to do to get back into this? Every time they try and take a fight, I just feel like this Ricky has been... 3-4-3 has been everywhere. He's been doing... basically winning them the game, I feel like.
I think they need to be getting pickoffs on a hero that's not Vengeful Spirit. I think the Laguna Blade needs to be used somewhere else. You know, they get the Chrono there at the end on the Lifestealer, but if the Lina has Laguna, they can actually kill him. If most of the targets, if they catch in the Chrono or with the Tusk or when they're haunting, if Lina's got Laguna, they can kill big targets, but she's so far been using a Laguna Blade to kill the Venge. They have been killing the Venge, but it's not an important enough kill, and you might think, oh well, if they don't kill the Venge, he can swap someone out, sure, but he's doing his job. It's a bit like the Bounty Hunter in last game. Like it's perfectly fine for the Venge to die if it means that now Fnatic can say, well, there's no Laguna Blade, and that's the main source of burst damage, so we can confidently stride into a fight.
Yeah, and I can understand. Well, all right. So here's the thing. I saw that play. I felt like MP. You find the kill on the Venge, and then everybody backs out. It ends up being a trade Dubu for the Venge, and that's fine. But then they went back in. They went back in afterwards. Felt like they could fight because they had Chronosphere, because they had AA ulti, because they had Haunt. But if you're gonna do it, that's like the dyssynergy that you have, because you either use the Laguna Blade on a high priority target or you use the Laguna Blade for a pickoff, and you can't do both. And they tried to sort of do both, which I don't know, it just didn't end up working out for them. 343 is still stalking QO in the mid lane, and they could find a kill so easily here.
He's got a Tusk behind him now, which could help him, but oh, okay, misblinked. That's actually, they might miss the kill because of it.
Yeah, that should be an escape. Tricks the trade and just going to head out for the moment. Blinks away, is going to be able to catch them. Chronosphere drop down, catches mid one, maybe in a little bit of trouble, and there's going to be the A blast, connects onto the Riki. Meanwhile, Shadow Fiend jumps in, a lot of damage onto Dubu, and it looks like they're going to have to back out for the moment as Snowball off onto a creep. I would assume it's actually going to hit mid one, and that's going to be dead Dubu. I don't think they can.
It's not even the worst trade for Fnatic. I mean, the initiation is really a mess. Riki by mistake blinked onto a creep instead of the Spectre. Kind of ruins the initiation, but they still just trade support for support, and if that's what a bad fight looks like for Fnatic, I mean, consider the fact that Void actually used Chronosphere in that fight as well, so it's scary for MVP if that's the best they can do.
It's feeling more and more like Fnatic are just taking complete control of this game. You've got the Darkseer now, who quietly has been building into a ton of net worth on his team. 9,000, the Crimson Guard and the Pipe completed. It's just, it doesn't really feel like they're ever going to die, and I don't know, maybe if Spectre is able to get some more net worth, like if QO can find a couple more kills and accelerate from there, it would be really big, but they are going to be running him down right here.
Yeah, they are not leaving him alone. This is like, it's very clear that that's the discussion in Fnatic, is we just keep going for Spectre over and over, but this time, MVP are bringing their entire team with.
Oh, QO gets jumped on right from the start, though, and there's no way to save him. Now they don't have him, but they do end up being able to bring down the Venge, again with the Laguna Blade. Oh, God, they don't have Chronosphere for this fight. They are going to be able to kill off 343. It looks like that is going to be about as good as it's going to come for them. Lifestealer heads to the north, and everybody from MVP.Phoenix heads to the south.
You know, that's still a loss for MVP. I mean, they killed 2 heroes, but they lost their Spectre for 2 supports, and this is where they had a 5v3 situation. Like, they were the Darkseer and the Shadow Fiend were not even there, and still the Spectre goes down, and that's just because MVP, even though they were all coming, they weren't there quickly enough, I want to say. So, just, if they were there immediately as the Spectre went gone on, probably the Spectre gets out alive, but it's a matter of seconds. Fnatic go on the Spectre, and only then do the MVP heroes arrive, and it's too late.
Well, again, we have the Spectres building into the Radiance, does have the Vitality Booster and the Sacred Relic, so a little bit more tanky than just a bear. Oh, God, QO. Oh, it just never ends. Oh, a good haunt away, alive for the moment, continuing to try and duck and dive, is going to be able to walk away, and never mind, the Riki takes him down on the other side of the fight. That was a nice play, but it wasn't quite enough.
He reality'd like 3 or 4 times there, just back and forth trying to confuse them, but ultimately you have to end up where one of the heroes is, right? And if you're really low, chances are you're going to die unless your team's busy doing something. But yeah, you were saying he has the Relic, gets the Radiance. Radiance is a farming item, it's also a fighting item, and on Spectre it's the kind of item where if you do manage to pull off a big fight where you wipe the enemy team right after you get a Radiance, it's a very big jump that you're going to get. But I don't see it happening right now. I'm totally frank, I think MVP are in big danger. I think it's feeling a bit like last game did at this stage in the game, where there might just be 1 or 2 more fights left in it for MVP if they don't pull something back soon.
It does also feel that I think that it's pretty easy to be pretty cynical and imagine that this is just QO like feeding or QO doing whatever. It feels very much that this is the dynamic of the draft, that the combination of the Riki Lifestealer is actually an incredibly strong component, and they've just had the Shadow Fiend continuing to farm. Like, this doesn't necessarily have to be a Mushi Shadow Fiend. Meanwhile, actually, it does look like they're going to be able to go for a gank down in the bottom lane. If they could find something here, this would be really big. They don't have the SF in this fight, and there's going to be the wave of terror. Forev jumps away for the moment. Ohio is still here. There's the Walrus Punch to get it started, but he just took no damage from that, and there's going to be the Light Strike Array. They're trying to disengage. Do not want to get ran down at this point. They're still so fast. Swapping back Dubu. Sacrificial Tusk. The A Blast is not going to connect onto anybody. 343 is here. They lay down this cloud, and Dubu just goes down.
And he's got mid one inside of him, so wants to keep chasing, see if they can catch someone else. And you know, they've been going for the Spectre all the time, but honestly, if they catch the Void or the Lina, it's just as good. Because right now, Ricky goes on any of those heroes with the smoke screen and the life stealer, they're just gonna die before they get anything off.
Oh god! And
it looks like it's Lina's turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time. I mean, at this point, it's also just becoming easier and easier because Lifestealer has a Desolator up, and Ricky's been able to build into Drum, so that extra bit of agility is giving him the bonus damage from Cloak and Dagger. So it's becoming easier for Fnatic to find these pickoffs, which is shocking considering how late in the game it is. And Lifestealer just naked picks up an AC. No other items built into it along the way. My god, he's just a monster.
Okay, Ohio just blinks in, says hello, and Ice Blast does come out towards the rush, but that gets dodged as well. And I think Fnatic could just pull back and get the rush. I mean, Shadow Fiend and Avenge can get the rush on their own, to be honest, with the other heroes just distracting them, but they'll get it a bit quicker if everyone gets involved.
They have so much minus armor for Roche, too. It just falls very rapidly, and Mushi quietly been building into a lot of net worth. Is currently got Blink BKB. It's worth noting that if they do end up being able to drop down a pretty good Laguna ulti, and they can kill off that Shadow Fiend rather quickly. So there's something there to be said, but I don't know. It feels like all they need at this point almost is the Lifestealer. Mid 1 alone might be able to solo all of MVP's heroes. Particularly if a Ricky is around.
Yeah, and speaking of Ricky, he's just bought a Blink Dagger, so the initiation is going to become that much more scary. It's something that I've seen a few times on this hero before. There's a few ways you can use it. You can use it as like a double range Blink initiation to blink and then Blink Strike, or you can use it for kind of blink in, initiate, and then after you use your ulti, you're able to blink out. So there's like no way that you ever die. It's also just the instant blink smoke screen, right? Which Blink Strike is not as quick an animation, and you have to blink on a hero, whereas you could just use the Blink Dagger and immediately smoke on whoever you want.
Well, the A Blast is going to go out, and that means they're not going to have it for this next fight, which is coming at least as of yet. DJ looking for the swap, wants to find QO. You do have the Radiance up on this Spectre. But it looks like, at least for now, they're going to retreat. This is so bold of them, heading outside of the base right now. I would not feel confident at all in this, and Forev ends up being going for the Time Walk back. They do have the Vlads on him. No Lina in the base, and they're just right-clicking on the tower. It's actually dead. Oh, the swap available. They get the Chronosphere onto 3. The Haunt comes out as well. DJ is not in this one. The Vacuum Wall counter initiation is going to be able to drop down that A ulti. Forev able to dodge away a lot of that damage. They pull him back in as well, and Mushi's just going to town. That's going to be a 4 dead in an instant, and Lina was not there to Laguna Blade anybody. Everybody is alive for Fnatic. Oh, God. The initiation was solid, but not quite good enough, and man, this is it.
The AA ulti didn't hit the lifestealer. I think if it had hit him, he would have died. Because he went really low, he had to armlet Duke just to stay up. And maybe the fight starts better for them if the lifestealer goes down at the beginning and then the lead TP's in. But the one important target for the AA ulti to hit, it actually didn't hit, unfortunately. And yeah, they're just going to call it GG. That's like, I was thinking, like, because they have a Spectre and because Spectre make comebacks, they were just not tapping out. But it does feel like this game's essentially over. And 2-0 for Fnatic early on in this best of 5. They're looking like the stronger team. They are the team that usually gets the better of MVP in this matchup, although, like I said before, they weren't at the Shanghai Major where it mattered most, unfortunately.
All right, well, everybody stick around again. This is going to be the best of 5 series, so MVP still have a chance. It's a glimmer of a hope in their eye. We'll see if they're going to be able to bring it back. If you feel so inclined, follow us on Twitter at Lyrical Dota, at Scantzor, and more importantly, the Summit 5. This is the Southeast Asian qualifiers. Winner of this series moves on to LA, and so far, if history is any indication, it might end up being Fnatic. Stick around, guys.